Thank you for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Ubisoft, how to make everybody hate you. Let's start with the numbers, everybody. Ubisoft bookings fell by more than 20% in the last fiscal year. Sales down almost 18%. Despite massive franchises like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and whatnot, Ubisoft ended the year with losses. How do you try to fix that? You cut costs. They've already laid off more than 1,000 employees and trimmed hundreds of millions in overhead. But the truth is, you can only fire so many people before the court issue hits you at the face. Nobody is buying your games at the levels that you need them to. Let's be real now. Their stock value in the toilet. This presentation is slightly outdated. I think I made this one at around August. Yes, August. Huge losses year over year. Minus 17%, minus 20%, etc., etc., etc. It's not looking good. Well, why is this? Let's start. They're burning money. Ubisoft is burning cash on projects that either take forever or flop when they finally arrive. Take Assassin's Creed Shadows. Years in development, pushed back again and again, which means more salaries, more costs, and more debt. Or Star Wars Outlaws, a dream license, massive budget, and yet the game super underperformed. Come on, Skull and Bones, the quadruple A game, allegedly up to $850 million in development, with over a decade in development, 2,500 players all-time peak on Steam. It's not looking good. You literally cannot play X Defiant anymore, Ubisoft's response to the Call of Duty franchise. Ubisoft isn't just spending a bunch of money, they're spending big on things that don't pay back fast enough. That's how you end up with billion-dollar franchises, come on now, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, that still can't stop the bleeding. It is absurd. Now, let's talk about perceived value. Ubisoft's perceived value is shot. Because video games have infinite supplies thanks to the digital age, your games have to be like really good for people to actually buy them. Gamers don't see an Ubisoft release as a must-buy anymore. They see recycled open worlds, this is true, buggy launches, this is true, and a formula they've already played to death, and microtransactions. So when a new game comes out, most people shrug and say, I'll wait for a sale. And once that mentality sets in, it's extremely hard to reverse, especially if you keep feeding into it. On paper, Ubisoft sells their games for $70. But in reality, that $70 doesn't mean anything. Within weeks, the game's on sale for $40, and a couple of months later, it's in the bargain bin, or bundled with DLC and microtransactions or whatnot. If you paid full price, you feel scammed. You're not paying full price again. If you waited, you're not paying full price, you're not paying full price ever again. And that cycle erodes the very foundation of their business. That $70 price point only works if you stick to your guns and make people believe that the game is worth $70. Not to mention Ubisoft Plus inflating consumer numbers by having users pay a monthly fee, that being $17.99, to play their game, which obviously artificially inflates player numbers because they aren't buying the game. Not everybody that plays the game is buying the game. In fact, I guess with Ubisoft Plus and how many games are on there, you could say that they can only play the game for a couple cents, which is obviously bad. And of course, we have to talk about the morals. Harassment, guys. Ubisoft has been dragged down by years of workplace harassment scandals. Executives accused of psychological Executives accused of psychological abuse, specifically Thomas Francois, guilty of harassment and attempted bad word on a weapon. I don't want this to die in the Ubisoft algorithm. YouTube algorithm. Yeah. Stories of humiliation, harassment, and toxic leadership going all the way back to 2020. A toxic boys club work culture. This isn't just bad PR. This affects who wants to work at Ubisoft. Specifically, a woman. Honestly, if you're a woman, there are very few game companies that you can work in. Let's be real now. And Ubisoft is not one of them. If your leadership is rotten, much like a sports team, if the leadership, the owners, aren't good, it trickles into every aspect of the company. Your team. Look at the New York Jets. look at the games that Ubisoft make. And I'll show you why this sucks for everyone. For gamers, you're getting less. You're getting less content, less innovation, less polish, and more microtransactions shoved in your face. You never know if an Ubisoft release is worth the launch price, so you stop buying early, or better yet, stop buying at all. For shareholders, the stock plummets, cash flow turns negative, and the company has to sell off pieces of itself to stay alive. Everybody loses, except for like Tencent, who swoops in to buy parts of the business. And I want to make like a little theory, or more of like a hypothesis, that being the Ubisoft dev cycle. They launch a game, players hesitate to buy the game because the trust is low. Obviously, the game probably sucks and has microtransactions. Of course, that means that Ubisoft is going to inevitably discount the game. But shareholders want to make their money back because they pay you to make the game. They want that money back. So they have to add other ways to make revenue. They have to add the DLC and the microtransactions, which of course frustrating the player base even more, which means that the trust drops even lower. And when the next game launches, the cycle repeats. Each loop digs the hole deeper, fewer people buy, there's more discounting, more monetization, and eventually the brand will collapse under its own weight. So that's where Ubisoft is today. Financial misery, they're burning money, the perceived value in the floor, harassment scandals, and a death cycle that keeps reinforcing itself. Can Ubisoft break out? Sure, if they start delivering consistent quality, stop leaning so hard on monetization, and rebuild trust. But let's be real, that's not happening. And I feel like Ubisoft only has a couple of years left before they get taken over by Tencent or whatever game company wants to buy them, because they have really valuable IPs. If you watched the whole video, give me that like, give me that subscription, and thanks for watching. For real. Peace out.